What killed the Magical Express? Because it really was one of the smartest transportation systems Disney ever built. But after 20 years, it closed to the surprise of many guests. To understand this, we need to understand why it was created. Walt always wanted a transportation system of the future. Originally, there were plans to build a full airport on Disney property with a monorail connecting it to Magic Kingdom. After those plans failed, they built a Stolport, a small airport with a new technology. That also failed. Disney had plans to build a people mover at Disney Springs. They were always focused on building mass transportation solutions that didn't rely on passenger vehicles. But as priorities shifted, Disney really did end up relying on a lot of private companies to move their guests from the airport to Disney property. One of those companies was Mears. Now jump to the decade of 1990 to 2000. Disney is on top. They've opened up new resorts. They now have 4 theme parks by the end of the 90s. They have 3 water parks because River Country was still open. But then 9/11 hits and suddenly things are looking really different. Tourism drops, guest occupancy in their resort hotels plummets, guest spending plummets. Disney is in a predicament. The years after 9/11 weren't much better. Disney was not seeing the occupancy they needed, and they needed a solution. So, what was that solution?
Flying into Orlando Airport? Then you get to experience Disney's Magical Express service. We can pick you up with our airport bus, drop your bags and you at your doorstep. Plus, with the drive off your mind, leave your worries behind. Transportation, it's on us.
And the Magical Express was intended to solve 2 problems for Disney. Problem number 1 was getting their occupancy up, getting more guests to stay in their hotels. Problem number 2 was getting guests to spend more money. And if they were staying in the Disney bubble and they weren't leaving Disney property because they didn't have a car of their own, guests would spend more money on Disney property. It was pretty simple. And did this work? Yes. Yes, it did. It was absolutely so successful. Hotel occupancy rose in the years after the Magical Express was created. Per room guest spending rose, and Disney was very, very happy. But then in 2019, things start to shift a little bit. Hotel occupancy is close to full. Guests who want to stay on Disney property aren't able to because the hotels are booked. Now, also, there's a rise of third-party apps like Ubers and Lyfts where people have an easier way to exit property and go to other destinations. So the 2 things that the Magical Express was created to solve suddenly were not really being fixed by the Magical Express. And so Disney had an issue. Do they take away the Magical Express or do they keep it? Well, they took it away because they were saving a ton of money by taking it away. Truly, that was the answer. They didn't need it anymore. They didn't have the problems anymore. Guests were devastated to say the least, but the Disney company knew that they would have other options. A lot of guests were already taking Ubers and Lyfts. Mears also went back into business for themselves, and there was even talks of the Brightline train having a station at Disney Springs. A deep dive for another day. So what really killed the Magical Express? Honestly, it's simple. It did its job too well.